PC Maloney and PC Swainston were walking along a footpath near to Eastbourne Road when they came across Andrew Bryson, who was walking towards them after being spotted huddled with a group of people. On spotting both officers, the 22-year-old then immediately turned his back on them and started walking in the opposite direction. When Bryson of Dundas Street in Stockton broke into a sprint, a pursuit began, with both officers chasing him into a property on Larch Road. Mr. Bryson was spotted climbing over a fence into a back garden, then running away. However, the officers swiftly caught up with him and he was detained. Despite Mr. Bryson continuing to lash out and evade them, he was handcuffed and searched, with officers seizing almost 100 wraps of crack cocaine and a quantity of cannabis. He was taken to police custody to be interviewed, where he answered no comment to all questions put to him. However, there was enough evidence for him to be charged with possession with intent to supply Class A. The arrest and subsequent charge took place on Thursday the 24th of May. After being remanded in custody and pleading guilty to an earlier hearing, Mr. Bryson appeared at Teesside Crown Court on Monday the 16th of December to be sentenced to 3 years in prison. PC Sean Maloney of Stockton's neighbourhood policing team said, "We regularly carry out foot patrols in this area as we know it is often a place where people who use and supply drugs conduct their activity. As soon as Mr. Bryson saw us, he panicked and fled, knowing he had crack cocaine in his possession, ready to deal to make a profit. Despite him running off, we were determined to not allow him to get away, and were always going to catch up with him. This led to almost 100 wraps being seized, and now him being put behind bars." Harry Warg was caught on numerous CCTV footage, taking part in a disorder that occurred in the summer. The 26-year-old can be seen charging towards a line of officers, shouting abuse, pointing aggressively, and throwing items at them while they tried to protect themselves with a shield. He then walked away, though a rock was thrown by another individual involved in the disorder, hit him in the face before returning to shout further abuse at the police. Mr. Warg was then captured, hitting another man when a fight broke out in a nearby park. Following information provided to the Operation Acorn investigation team, Mr. Warg of Plummer Drive in Stockton was arrested and subsequently charged in connection with violent disorder. After appearing at Teesside Crown Court on Wednesday the 18th of December, Mr. Warg was jailed for 30 months. Kasum K of Hampton Road, Haringey in London was located inside a property on Raglan Terrace that contained almost 400 plants. The 39-year-old was detained by police and arrested on suspicion of producing a controlled drug. His arrest came after officers received information that a farm was growing at the address. The court heard that a police drone had detected a significant amount of heat coming from the property, leading officers to obtain a warrant. At approximately 8:45 a.m. on Sunday the 11th of May, police attended to the property with Mr. Gajana attempting to flee before being handcuffed. A search of the home found that the cannabis was growing in every one of the 4 rooms on the first floor, while Mr. Gajana was living on the ground floor. While police discovered equipment including powered lights, extractors and fans were being stored on the second floor, believed to be in preparation to receive the next crop of plants. Gajana answering no comment to all the questions put to him in custody, he was charged. On Friday the 6th of December, Mr. Gajana was sentenced at Teesside Crown Court and told he will serve 3 years and 6 months in prison. PC Lee Swainston of Stockton's neighbourhood policing team said, "Thanks to information received from members of the community, along with some excellent police work, we have been able to remove a significant quantity of drugs and make an arrest which has led to Mr. Gajana being imprisoned. The production and subsequent supply of cannabis is linked to serious and organised crime, and can often bring antisocial behaviour, violence and exploitation of vulnerable adults and children. It can also be extremely dangerous to grow cannabis for the house itself and surrounding properties, including the risk of a fire. Growing cannabis is not a victimless crime, and we encourage members of the public to keep reporting information so we can continue to take this action." A 33-year-old man has been in prison for over 4 years after he was found in possession of Class A drugs in Middlesbrough. Jane Sharp, of no fixed address, was found on Friday the 8th of November on Palmer Street in possession of Class A drugs. He was charged with possession with intent to supply Class A and appeared at Teesside Magistrates Court on Saturday the 9th of November, before being sentenced at Teesside Crown Court on Tuesday the 10th of December. Middlesbrough Team Sergeant John Bryson said, "We are relentlessly targeting those who bring drugs into Middlesbrough and think it's acceptable to cause misery for those law-abiding residents within our communities. The message from us is clear. If you are committing crime in Middlesbrough, then you will be arrested and you will be brought to justice." Amir Khil of Limerick Avenue in Stockton was captured on CCTV stamping on a man's head during a violent altercation in town on Sunday the 4th of August. The 25-year-old was part of a group of men that were making chants as they ran down the road targeting a man. Footage of Mr. Khil played in court, which seen him stamping on the man's head. The victim can be seen falling face down into a dip. After running away, Mr. Khil was then seen to punch a man and kick him door of a pub. Following a police appeal for information to identify people involved in the disorder, Mr. Khil was arrested at his home address as part of a day of action run by the dedicated team of detectives from Cleveland Police's Homicide and Major Injury Team, HMET. He pleaded guilty to violent disorder and attempted GBH with intent at an earlier hearing before he was sentenced to 2 years and 10 months at Teesside Crown Court on Monday the 9th of December. A man has been jailed for more than 2 years after eagle-eyed officers spotted a drug deal in Middlesbrough. At around 7:15 p.m. on Friday the 30th of August, officers in Laycock Park spotted suspicious activity carried out by 22-year-old Jake Marin, who was on an electric motorbike. Mr. Marin made off on the bike but was arrested after a short pursuit, which led to a bridge over the A66 being closed to St. Aidan's Court. An officer suffered a minor injury to their thumb during the incident. Officers searching him Class A drugs to be worth over £3,500 in total, along with some cash. He was charged with possession with intent to supply cocaine, possession with intent to supply crack cocaine, possession of criminal property, and assaulting an emergency worker. Mr. Marin from Middlesbrough appeared at Teesside Crown Court on Friday the 22nd of November after pleading guilty to the charges, where he was sentenced to 27 months in prison. Sergeant John Bryson from Middlesbrough's proactive team said, "This result demonstrates our commitment to targeting those drug dealing in the community and bringing misery to our communities, as well as those using motorbikes in commission of crime. I'd urge anyone with information with dealing or criminality to keep reporting to us on 101. 34-year-old Ashley Ferguson of Somerset Road in Middlesbrough has been sentenced to 30 months in prison after being involved in a violent disorder in Middlesbrough on the 4th of August. Mr. Ferguson was identified by drone operators and police officers as being in possession of a 4-foot wooden pole and was seen causing damage to property with the weapon and using it in a threatening manner towards the police. At Teesside Crown Court, he was sentenced to 30 months in prison. Ashley Dalin was jailed for 4 years after threatening 2 people with a meat cleaver and carrying out a violent attack on a woman. Officers were called to Teeth Barn Road in Hardwick on Sunday the 21st of January 2024, following reports that Mr. Dalin was wielding a meat cleaver in the street. The 33-year-old from Stockton held the meat cleaver to the throat of one woman and waved it towards another before he then smashed the back window of a vehicle. Prior to this incident, Mr. Dalin carried out a vicious attack on a woman, punching her several times in the face, causing a black eye. Mr. Dalin was arrested and subsequently charged with controlling and coercive behaviour, assault causing actual bodily harm, threatening a person with a bladed article, and criminal damage. He appeared at Teesside Crown Court on Friday the 19th of July. He pleaded guilty to all 4 offences. On Thursday the 31st of October 2024, he appeared at the same court for sentencing. Investigating officer PC Hood from the domestic abuse team said, "This was a particularly terrifying incident which involved an extremely dangerous weapon on a residential street. Tackling violence against women and girls is a priority for Cleveland Police, and we will continue continue to work with victims and support them throughout our investigations and any court process. The bravery and courage shown by the victim in this case is truly incredible, and I'd like to thank her for her unwavering support throughout the process. A man has been jailed after 2 incidences involving firearm discharges in the Durham and Stockton areas. Jack Walker, age 30, from West Northampton, was sentenced to a total of 12 years and 6 months in prison at Teesside Crown Court. Earlier this year, on the 29th of March, Mr. Walker used a stolen car to travel from Northampton to Staindrop in County Durham, where a number of gunshots were fired at a residential property, where the occupants, including a young child, were inside. Thankfully, they were unharmed. Later, the stolen vehicle used in the incident was located in Cleveland, and a live grenade was found inside, which was safely destroyed by the Explosive Ordnance Disposal team. Mr. Walker again used another stolen car to travel to Thornaby. An avenue was targeted and gunshots fired into a property. The occupants were missed by a matter of inches. Fortunately, no one was physically hurt. The Audi used in the incident was located burnt out in Billingham later that same day. Working closely with Durham police, Mr. Walker was charged in connection with the incidences later that month and pleaded guilty to possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life and assisting an offender. Temporary Detective Sergeant Rob Griffiths said incidences clearly took a great deal of planning, with dangerous weapons and stolen vehicles being sourced, along with measures to try and evade detection. The extensive investigation resulted in identifying those suspected to be involved, stolen vehicles recovered, and prohibited weapons recovered and destroyed. Firearms are extremely dangerous weapons which can clearly cause serious harm or worse, death, and it was only by a matter of luck on both occasions that somebody wasn't seriously hurt. Today's sentencing is welcomed and reflects the severity of the incidences and highlights the consequences of being in possession of a firearm. Jack Walker will spend a number of years reflecting on his actions, and I would encourage others who are involved in such criminality to consider the consequences of engaging in it. The impact of these incidences extends beyond the victims, and the effects are felt on whole communities. I hope today's sentencing provides reassurance to those communities and sends a clear message to those who commit such serious and dangerous offences that we will thoroughly investigate and bring those responsible to justice. Detective Constable Victoria Patrickson said, "These 2 incidences saw a dangerous gunman attend residential addresses in both Durham and Cleveland. On the first occasion, the bullets passed straight through the front door, with one bullet was found lodged in a vacuum cleaner and another wedged in an internal wall. On the second occasion, 2 rounds of ammunition were fired again into a residential property, where a bullet was recovered from the media wall in the living room. The investigation team have successfully brought a dangerous offender to justice. Let this be a warning to others that criminal use of firearms will not be tolerated." Alfie Holdsworth, aged 20, from Gateshead, was present within a group involved in 2 separate assaults on Linthorpe Road during violent disorder in Middlesbrough on Sunday the 4th of August. In the first, a large group of males is seen to assault a person, although Mr. Holdsworth wasn't involved in this violence. In the second assault, Mr. Holdsworth is seen to kick a lone victim twice while he is on the ground. He was sentenced at Teesside Crown Court to 14 months in prison. 21-year-old Hartlepool woman has been jailed for her role in the violent disorder which took place in the town in the summer of 2024. Tasmin Sher of Furby Close was captured on camera throwing objects at the police and approaching the police line. Miss Sir appeared at Teesside Crown Court, where she was sentenced to 12 months in prison. A man who violently attacked a woman in Hartlepool has been jailed for more than 3 years. Levi Martin, 27, was arrested after officers were called to an assault at an address in Hartlepool in the early hours of January the 20th, 2024. Following an argument, Mr. Martin repeatedly hit a victim and threw her down the stairs, causing a substantial cut to the back of her head and bruising to her body. Mr. Martin from Hartlepool was soon charged with grievous bodily harm with intent, and he appeared at court where he pleaded guilty to the offence. Mr. Martin appeared at Teesside Crown Court where he was sentenced to 3 years and 2 months. Investigating officer James Smith from the Domestic Abuse Unit said, "This was an extremely violent attack which will no doubt have a lasting impact on the victim. I hope this sentencing reassures victims that we can and will take action. We have specialist officers who will support you throughout our investigations and any court process. You can report an incident to Cleveland Police at any time of the day or night."